Ladies and gentlemen, this RedGamer.com video, we're going to be discussing GTA 5 on the PlayStation 4 versus the Xbox One, primarily concerning the frame rate. I will touch on the graphics a little, however, I'm still going into in-depth analysis in all of the different areas of the game, but these are just my primary findings at the moment. So, as it turns out, the game does manage to cling to 30 FPS pretty much throughout the experience I've had so far. What I've basically done is test it from a variety of different areas of the game, primarily open areas and cutscenes, and thus far it seems pretty difficult to get the frame rate to tank in all but the most ridiculous of circumstances. I've put in weapon cheats, as you'll see later on in the video, caused a massive amount of destruction with explosive bullets, and it just doesn't really make much difference at all. Now, I have done this as an article. If you do want more information, I do have comparison images, which are of course high resolution, and you can check those out, and that link is in the video's description if you do want that little bit more information. As I said, the testing is currently fairly early, but it would appear that this game isn't really so much rebuilt for the next generation consoles, it's more of a remaster. It's very much in the line of, let's say, The Last of Us Remastered. It has a 1080p image, holds to 30 FPS pretty much all the way through, and the 1080p does definitely make a difference compared to the 720p of, let's say, the PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 iteration of the title. But, and there is a but here, some of the models are definitely not quite what you'd expect, and there is a level of detail issues that you're going to notice throughout the video. You're probably going to notice them more in some of the screenshots that I've also created, which you can check out, and we will, as I said, be doing more in-depth technical analysis, but you're going to notice these issues when it comes to, let's say, details on car wheels. That can pop in. You'll also notice, for example, foliage, pretty much the same deal, and in fact even lighting can sometimes just pop in without too much warning. Speaking of lighting, for the most part it's fairly impressive if you were to judge it from GTA 5 on the previous generation, but considering that now many titles are moving of course onto physical based lighting, it doesn't look quite what we'd expect for a next generation title, but the higher resolution and higher quality assets do help to promote that sense of extra realism. Perhaps my two biggest gripes thus far with the game are the anti-aliasing, which, to be totally blunt, at points can be pretty jarring. This is another issue that was of course created in a variety of other titles in the next generation consoles. Definitely one of the biggest culprits at the moment in recent memory has been AC Unity, and I believe it's still using the similar, or pretty similar anyway, post-process anti-aliasing that was used on, I believe it was the previous generation consoles. It looks very similar. What you're going to notice, particularly on finer details, as you would expect, is some stepping or some soft edges and some white flecks as well, simply because the edges are blurred and obviously some detail has been lost. Textures definitely are a mixed bag. They are definitely sharper, higher resolution, but it doesn't quite look like we've got the levels of anisotropic filtering that one would have expected for a truly next-gen title. So far, I know it sounds like I'm being overly critical of the game when it does look very beautiful, and in fact it can. If you are on, say, hilltops, or if you're at a high height advantage and you're looking down surveying kind of the scenery, it can look very impressive, and the draw distances are pretty damn amazing. Long distances the game can look absolutely stunning. Furthermore, as I said, the fact that the game does manage to pretty much cling to 30 FPS through dear life, and at points I was pretty sure I was going to get the game to dip. I was actually trying to get the game to dip. I was throwing grenades, I was rocket launching everything, I was blowing up helicopters, and it pretty much point blank refused to go down on either platform. I have heard and done some testing in regards to the game's foliage. I did mention that was a bit of a weak point. Geometry wise, as I said, it hasn't really improved that much for the previous generation to this, but there have been some posts on NeoGAF as well as just my own findings thus far. I'm not quite ready to show them all as yet, but it would indicate that geometry, sorry, that foliage, grass, that type of thing is actually a little bit sparser on the Xbox One iteration of the game. I will be doing further testing on this, and I wouldn't say that it spoils the Xbox One version, and it's not that the foliage that's there is worse, it's just that it seems to be a little bit more sparse in comparison to the PlayStation 4. For the most part, however, the other models and so forth look pretty much interchangeable. Obviously, throughout this video, you're going to see that there is some subtle lighting differences in the video between the two versions, and that's simply because it's very difficult to get the same time of day, the same weather conditions, and pretty much everything else, because obviously the world's pretty dynamic. So rather than say looking and saying, oh, this image looks a little bit lighter, or this shadow's cast a little bit different, instead you have to unfortunately focus on other details, like for example, oh, you know, look at the details of, say, their textures on their shirt and that type of thing, as that definitely has a larger role in this game. Overall, I'm enjoying so far my experience with GTA, and if you've played it on the previous generation, I would definitely say that this is the true way to play the game. Obviously, I am very much looking forward to see how the PC stacks up as well. From what Rockstar have said, it's going to be a very good version of the game indeed. First person mode as well, pretty impressive from what I'm finding. Performance is pretty impressive and pretty steady. Not ready to test it completely and utterly yet. I'm going to basically be replaying some missions in first person mode and seeing how I can affect the performance. But overall, pretty damn good show so far. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video and found it somewhat informative. As I said, take care and bye for now.